In the past 30 days, I helped my real estate investor client generate 90 motivated seller leads with a cost per lead of $59. And what's crazy about this is that if I go into my CRM, this is a call booking funnel. So we're collecting the motivated sellers' property address, their name, their email, and their phone number. But after they submit that information, they have an opportunity to book an appointment. And out of those 90 appointments, we have 37 of them that booked their own appointment, either through our funnel or I have a motivated seller bot that will turn those leads into booked appointments. And what's even crazier than all of this is that you may be seeing this advertising spend if you're an investor and thinking, oh man, well, I can't spend $5,300 per month. Or if you're an agency and you watch my content, you may be thinking, well, I don't know if I can convince a client to spend, $5,000 per month on ads. The craziest part about this is that this client actually started with me using my software where they can actually run their own ads. So if we go back in time, we can actually see down here that there were ads that this individual ran using my proven ad templates. And it was actually a few of these here. There were quite a bit of them, but it was actually these ads that allowed this client to turn about $9,000 in ad spend into over $60,000 in assignment fees. And they only started with like a $10 per day budget. And what's funny about this is that I actually didn't know this at the time, that they were spending so little per day on the ads. And I have always ran ads for investors, and so I recommend a higher budget. But since they decided to use my software, because of using my software, they could, run the ads at whatever ad spend they want. And it was basically up to them to get results. And so what I then found out was that they were only spending about $10 a day, and then they gradually closed their first few deals, and then they converted that up to $20 per day, and then from there they went to $25, and then they just gradually increased their budget, and then they decided to hire me to actually do this for them, and now they're spending over $5,000 per month generating leads. So I wanted to share with you guys this case study here because it's really powerful. You can see here I've been helping them out for quite some time. They're great at what they do. They make my job easy and they make me look good sharing these different case studies here. But I actually just got word from them about 4 or 5 days ago that we relaunched these ads here. You can see here, so in the past 30 days, we've got, we've got 90 different leads, I think it was. I don't know why it's not showing anymore, but let me delete the filter. So there should be 90, Facebook changes. So there's 90 website leads in the past 30 days. And we relaunched these. I refreshed some of the campaigns and stuff like that, probably within the last 10 days, and they got 40 leads. And they've already got 10 of those under contract. Now, I told them myself that sounds a little like unique. Like that sounded pretty insane. So I was just curious, for what reason. And so we did a few different changes that kind of make sense after I started to talk to them. But you guys can see here, this is the power of running paid ads. Now, in the past, give or take, let's say 50 days here, 138 leads. Okay. So what I'm going to share with you in this video is, I kind of just went over the metrics there. And then, the appointment booking funnel here, which you can see. I'm going to share with you guys the overall process that I'm taking these leads through and give you guys an idea of how this actually. Okay, so like I said, this investor client started out using my software. So it's called New Breed Investor CRM. So it's the same process whether I'm doing this for someone or they're doing it on their own. The only difference with me doing it for them is that I'm doing it for them. They don't have to worry about any of the tech, and I set everything up and I manage it, right? So what they did was they went into the software here. It says Facebook ads. They click launch new campaign, and then they click Facebook and Instagram, and then they choose between the two different types of forms. Okay, so forms meaning when we're running this ad on Facebook, we basically have a short form here, which is just going to collect the lead's address, their name, their email, and their phone number. Now, Facebook has been a little bit sensitive now with the address collection on their native forms. So it's not something that it's kind of case by case. So when I run the ads for them, most likely I'm going to run the ads with a landing page where collecting the address is not an issue. Okay, but this is where they started. This is what's realistic. Not everyone can just spend $5,000 or even wants to right away. Now, if you know what you're doing and you can do it, I mean, I'd recommend doing it if your markets line up with, markets that are performing well with Facebook ads. But this is the short form. Okay, so they clicked on this and they used one of my templates here, and they basically started it with, like I said, $5 to $10 per day, and then the ad started generating leads, and they started getting a high volume of leads because they, number one, used the short form. That's kind of the main driver of the volume of the leads. Now, in my experience, the lead forms, which is the native form collection on Facebook, they seem to collect more leads than the landing pages. Like, no matter what, even if I have the same ads, the same targeting, they just seem to target a different audience that Facebook knows. Because think about it this way. Facebook has perfect data on form submissions on their platform, right? They're even doing things now to where when you open up a landing page, the landing page itself is even opening inside of Facebook's own browser. So they're doing that to try to collect more of that data and make it faster. But when they open that native form on Facebook, that's going to basically give them perfect tracking, right? So when you run your two styles of campaigns, you have the lead form and then you have the landing page. And so in this instance, I have the lead form in the software because people that are doing this themselves would have to do some sort of tech setup with the pixel and stuff like that. It's not too hard, but it's, for somebody to, is it worth it, right? To do like the landing page versus the, the lead form if you don't have any leads, if you, is that going to be the differentiating factor between a successful campaign and not? It could be if you don't monitor it properly, but generally speaking, if you have the fundamentals set up correctly, both methods will perform. But in my experience, the lead form you're not going to get people to submit clean addresses because they can type it in. Whereas on the landing page it's a Google autocomplete. And so they basically type it in and then Google auto completes it. They select it, right? So there's some slight differences, but what I really admire about this client and why I think it's such a cool case study to see what they're doing now is that they started with where they were at and what was realistic, right? Because, we can't all just spend $5,000 if we're starting out or whatever it is that where someone is, right? Maybe you don't know if it's going to work. So they kind of showed me actually a whole other dimension of my system. Hey, you can spend $10 a day. You're going to get more junk leads. You're going to get people that aren't really serious, but inside of that volume, you will get people that seriously do need to sell. And their cost per acquisition was actually lower, I would guess, than it is now, because they're getting such a high volume amount of leads with such a low cost, but they're spending time, right? And they're wasting time on people that maybe aren't going to be real submissions, right? So this is what they did. They started here, right? And then they just, the way it works in the software, you just click on the ad, you put in your budget of $10 a day, and then inside of the system, the other thing too, the reason I recommend lead forms when starting out, if you're kind of doing this yourself, is that you can link people to your funnel after the ad. So for example, when you do the lead form ad, you are collecting the information on the platform, right? And when you do a landing page, you're sending them to a landing page. However, with this lead form strategy, you can get the best of both worlds, because you'll get the lead form submission first, and then after they submit that information, you can put in your landing page link right here. And usually it's going to vary case by case on how many questions you have here, if you like, outside of this system, depending on how you do it. But within here, it's probably going to be about 10 to 15% will submit step 2 is what I'll call this. So the lead form is step 1, and then the survey funnel on the landing page is step 2. And so what's funny is you actually end up seeing very similar numbers between the two strategies. So for example, let's say that you get $10 cost per leads on step 1, right? And 10% of those leads or 20% of those leads fill out the step 2, right? So if you get 10 leads, then that means you're going to spend, for every 10 of those leads that actually fill out the step 1 here, then let's just say 2 of them fill out the step 2, right? So that would mean you spend $100 in ads. You're spending $10 per initial submission, but your cost to get that second submission is going to be $50, right? Because only 2 people did it out of the 10. Now, when you run an ad, right, straight to the survey, you'll probably spend about $50, okay? And you'll still get some leads that are not great or junk or whatever you want to call it, right? So that's the nature of Facebook ads. Honestly, it's the more because I teach agencies how to build this exact business, and I obviously still have my clients, and the common theme I see is just it's the nature of ads, it's the nature of Facebook, that when you run these types of ads, you're going to get people not serious, you're going to get all kinds of different situations. But you will, right, and you can adjust the quality with the right systems, the right ads, the right survey questions and stuff like that. But anyone that tells you they're just going to get you this perfect lead straight from the platform, it's just not realistic. In order to do that, you got to take the leads through a process, right? Which in my example, we got the ad, then we got the survey, and then we got the booking page. So you start kind of really identifying the individuals that are serious, right? So they started here, okay? They launched their ad. They typed in where they wanted to run the ad, and they just launched it, right? 3 months, 6 months in, I checked up on them, and they were like, we did, 5 deals or whatever it was. I'll put it up here. And I was just blown away. I looked through their account. I was like, no way. They're doing $10 a day and all that stuff, right? So they went from there, right? And then they take them into this funnel, right? And the funnel has a survey, which you can see here. So it has a survey like this, where you're basically asking them more information about their property, why they want to sell, what's their property type, how soon do you want to sell, all this stuff here. And then it collects their address with the Google autocomplete, and then name, email, phone. And you can add more stuff here or take stuff away. But that's how they started. They started with $10 a day short form lead form ads and basic images, and then they built their way up, and then they started to spend more, and then we started to make it, higher quality, right? And so now they're way more efficient with their time, and they know that when they're getting a lead, it's going to be a good one. So wanted to share that with you guys that are investors or wholesalers, just to see the progression, because I think people show case studies, or they hear results from people and they just think they immediately have to go and spend a bunch of money. But you get to learn the system too. You get to kind of understand it when you're doing $10 a day or whatever, right? Whereas if you're not sure how it works and you just jump in with all your money, or you don't even have the systems behind you to convert these people, then that could be a risk too. So they started with what was realistic for them. They built their way up, and then once they did that, now we're spending quite a bit more. And then if you're an agency owner, understanding how you can have some sort of strategy like that for your clients as well, to get more people to agree to sign up with you, because you can come up with ways where they can start with $10, $20 a day versus $100 a day. So I haven't done much case study content in some time here, but this one just came, a message here came up, and I was like, oh, okay, I should probably record that. So if you're an investor and you want to do this yourself through the software and follow the same kind of process, you can look up New Breed Investor CRM and just sign up there, and you can do it all yourself. And then if you're an agency and want to clone this model, there is a link down below to a trial with me with Go High Level, and you can learn from me and other members that are cloning this and servicing other investors. So I'll see you guys in the next video and talk to you then. Bye-bye.